robotics at Tesla.
Andrej is a renowned researcher, beloved AI educator and cuber, an early team member from OpenAI, the lead for Autopilot at Tesla, and now working on AI for education.
So I spent maybe 5 years in the self-driving space. I think it's a fascinating space. I'm always more interested in anything that kind of empowers people. And I feel like I'm kind of on a high level, like team human, and I'm interested in things that AI can do to empower people. And I don't want the future where people are kind of on the side of automation. I want people to be very in an empowered state, and I want them to be amazing, much more amazing than today. I also was, I think, part of different communities, like growing up in Slovakia, also a very different environment. People think that Waymo is ahead of Tesla. I think personally Tesla is ahead of Waymo, and I know it doesn't look like that, but I'm still very bullish on Tesla and its self-driving program. I think that Tesla has a software problem, and I think Waymo has a hardware problem, is the way I put it. And I think software problems are much easier. Tesla has the deployment of all these cars on Earth, like at scale. And I think Waymo needs to get there. And so the moment Tesla sort of like gets to the point where they can actually deploy this and it actually works, I think it's going to be, really incredible.
They see me rolling, they hate it.
Waymo looks like it's winning kind of right now, but I think when we look in 10 years and who's actually at scale and where most of the revenue is coming from, I still think they're ahead in that sense.
Trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty, trying to catch me riding dirty.
I'm not sure that people are appreciating that Tesla actually does use a lot of expensive sensors. They just do it at training time. So there are a bunch of cars that drive around with LiDARs. They do a bunch of stuff that like doesn't scale, and they have extra sensors, etc. And they do mapping and all this stuff. You're doing it at training time, and then you're distilling that into a test time package that gets deployed to the cars and is vision only. And it's like an arbitrage on like sensors and like expense.
Yeah.
And so I think it's actually kind of a brilliant strategy that I don't think is fully appreciated. And I think it's going to work out well because the pixels have the information. And I think the network will be capable of doing that. And yes, at training time, I think these sensors are really useful, but I don't think they're as useful at test time. And I think you can. Yeah, I think that was always like the plan from the start, I would say, at Tesla, as I was talking about how the neural net can like eat through the stack. Because when I joined, there was a ton of C++ code, and now there's much, much less C++ code in the test time package that runs in the car. But I do fundamentally believe in this approach, and I think that's the last piece to fall, if you want to think about it that way. And I do suspect that the end-to-end systems for Tesla in, like, say, 10 years, it is just a neural net. I mean, the videos stream into a neural net, and commands come out.
Photons in, controls out.
And so basically, I feel like it was necessary to eat through it incrementally, and that's what Tesla has done. I think is the right approach, and it looks like it's working. So I'm really looking forward to it.
If you had started end to end, you wouldn't have had the data anyway. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, and the industry is not used to rapid growth.
So you worked on the Tesla humanoid robot before you left. I have so many questions, but one is like starting here. What transfers?
Basically, everything transfers, and I don't think people appreciate it.
Okay, that's a big claim.
I think
it's like a very different
cars
problem.
are basically robots when you actually look at it. Cars are robots, and Tesla, I don't think is a car company. I think this is misleading. This is a robotics company. Robotics at scale company, because I would say at scale is also like a whole separate variable. They're not building a single thing. They're building the machine that builds the thing, which is a whole separate thing.
To actually create a production system, you need 10,000 people and 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
Vývoj myšlienok ohľadom veľkovýroby za posledných 10 rokov nájdeš zo strihu, ktorý trval 30 hodín a vieš ho skonzumovať za 20 minút.
In manufacturing education, really and truly is remarkable, and I'm very, very happy that.
And so I think robotics at scale company is what Tesla is. And I think in terms of the transfer from cars to humanoids, it was not that much work at all. And in fact, like the early versions of Optimus, the robot, it thought it was a car, like because it had the exact same computer, it had the exact same cameras. It was really funny because we were running the car networks on the robot, but it's walking around the office and so on.
Oh, amazing.
And like it's trying to like recognize drivable space, but it's all just walking space now, I suppose. But it actually kind of like generalized a little bit, and there's some fine tuning necessary and so on. But it thought it was driving, but it's actually like moving through an environment. The speed with which Optimus was started, I think to me was very impressive, because the moment Elon said we're doing this, people just showed up with all the right tools, and all the stuff just showed up so quickly, and all these CAD models and all the supply chain stuff. And I just felt like, wow, there's so much in-house expertise for building robotics at Tesla. Robotics at Tesla. And like, it's all the same tools, and they're just like, okay, they're being reconfigured from a car, like a Transformer, the movie. They're just being reconfigured and reshuffled, but it's like the same thing. And you need all the same components. You need to think about all the same kinds of stuff, both on the hardware side, on the scale stuff, and also on the brains. And so for the brains, there was also a ton of transfer, not just of the specific networks, but also all of the approach and the labeling team and how it all coordinates and the approaches people are taking. I just think there's a ton of transfer. I would say the humanoid aspect is also very appealing because people can teleoperate it very easily. And so it's a data collection thing that is extremely helpful because people will be able to obviously very easily teleoperate it. I think that's usually overlooked. And I think human brains just have a lot of constraints. You know, the working memory is very small. I think transformers have a lot bigger working memory, and this will continue to be the case. They're much more efficient learners. The human brains function under all kinds of constraints. It's not obvious that the human brain uses backpropagation, right? It's not obvious how that would work. It's a very stochastic sort of dynamic system. It has all these constraints it works under, so ambient conditions, etc. So I do think that what we have is actually potentially better than the brain, and it's just not there yet.
Optimus will figure out how to do things by watching videos.